Okay.
Let me get your stuff on.
All right, I'm tying a March brown wet fly, which is a mayfly, and it's comes up in the water just prior to the going up into the the surface of the water. And I've tied on a number 10 hook, and I've put on some dark brown thread, and now I'm going to do the tail. The tail is nothing more than a few fibers of turkey tail. And I like to kind of spread them out a little bit. And I'm going to tie on the tail about 1 to 1.5 lengths of the shank of the hook. Spread it out a little bit. And then to solidify the thread, I'm going to just tie down the balance of the tail. And this is a typically longer tail than you'd normally find on a mayfly. And now I'm going to put on the ribbing, which is nothing more than French tinsel. I've used a small version of the French tinsel. And I like to tie it in at about a 45-degree angle. And then cinch it down really well, because sometimes this comes loose. And then I'm going to wax the thread for my dubbing so that it adheres to this is hare's ear, natural hare's ear dubbing. Comes from the face of a rabbit, a hare. And it's used quite frequently with the tying these flies because the guard hairs stick out and look kind of like legs coming out of the body. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to put on a moderate amount here, and I'm going to spin it with my wet fingers, and you'll notice I'm spinning the bobbin in the same direction as I'm putting on the dubbing. And then I'm going to work my way up to just behind the eye of the hook. And I'm going to add a little bit more body. First of all, I'm going to clip off the tag ends of this turkey feather. Get that out of the way. And I'm going to build up the thorax a little bit bigger than the rest of the body if I can. And I'm just going to use some hackle pliers to get a hold of the tinsel, which is the ribbing, and I'm going to work my way towards the front, typically about 5 turns. This ribbing will sparkle in the sun and get attention, and as I tie it off, whatever you're tying off, you want to pull to the right, let it hang, and you pull what you're tying off to the right so you can come over on top of it with the thread. And so now I'm going to cut off the remainder of that and kind of tease out the legs from the hare's ear dubbing. And the more rough you can make it, the better to attract a trout or any other fish. Now I'm going to tie in some hackle. This is some hackle, some partridge type hackle that's very brown to kind of go along with the fly. I'm stripping off from the stem the bigger portion, and I'm going to use the hackle pliers to grab the tip, and I'm going to pull the rest of it back, as you can see here. because I want to tie in just the tip of this. So I've got a good little triangle here, and I'm going to again come in at a 45-degree angle in front of the eye. Tie that down as good as I can. And you want the concave side of this partridge hackle to face towards the back. I'm going to trim this here, and this is one of the more important steps, is to glue down where I tied in the hackle. And I'm just going to take the bodkin and put a little drop of Loctite, which is crazy glue, right on where I tied that in. And now I need to allow that a little bit of time to dry. And we'll put that down. And while that's drying, I'm going to be cutting off some wings for the top of the fly. And whenever you're tying in wings, whenever you're tying in wings, you want to grab, this is a turkey feather again, you want to be sure to tie off the proper amount on one side and then go to the next side. So I'm just going to kind of pick that out here and cut it off. The scissors. All right, now this came off of the right side of the turkey feather. Okay, and now I'm going to go to the same spot on the left side of the turkey feather. I believe I got it down here. And pull that off. And that's the other side of the wing. And I'm going to put the concave sides together. And one of them's a little thinner than the other one, so I'm just going to peel it back a tad to make it about the same size. Concave sides together. And then just kind of comb them out like so. And if it's a little shaggy on the end, that's no big deal. Now this should be about the same length as the tail. So that's about the tail length there. But before I do that, now that this is dried, I'm going to pull my thread in front of the fly and I'm going to gently comb back the feathers. And as I do that, I'm going to use my hackle pliers to give me a little bit better control, because I can spin them where I want them to go. And I'm going to pull them back, and I'm going to start going over and working my way to the front of the fly, one in front of the other. Usually I'll go about 3 turns and then tie it off right behind the eye. I like to give it about 3 good turns. And then I'm going to snip off the excess stem or the quill of the fly. And now I'm ready to put on the tail. I'm sorry, the wing, which is 2 pieces together.
What do you call that, Bill?
This is a March brown wet fly. Now I'm gonna kind of separate the hackle and tie it in right down the middle. And I'm using what we call the pinch wrap to pinch off the thread, come around, and then behind the eye, and give it 2 or 3 good wraps. And that's the wing. Cut off the excess. And I'm going to whip finish this now, right behind the eye.
We have Quad Fest with Trinity River Water Feast coming up on March 9th.
Tail's coming
And
forward.
we need volunteers, we need people to help. And Joyce Summers.
And then the last step is to just put a little drop of
If you'd
glue.
like to help us, we need people.
I like to run the glue up on the left side of the thread so that it doesn't get into the eye.
Phil Hodges, he's tying a March Brown wet fly.
And that's it. All I got to do now is trim it.
So we can start.
And that's the March Brown wet fly.